For the pattern printer and software installation in Windows 10, what we did first, we instead of going from a CD, this PC doesn't have a CD tray. What we did is we brought the installation files into the system via Dropbox. The pattern printer setup is an executable file. That one, what we did is actually we run it on compatibilities. So in that way, we install the pattern printer software in an earlier version. So what we did is we went compatibility to Windows XP with the latest update. Then what we did is we took the BAT file, the pattern printer BAT file, and we created a BAT file that is after the machine, the PC is reboot. That's going to be a file that will take the information that comes through the LPT and it's going to redirect it to a USB channel. So in that way we had the pattern printer software and a BAT file set up. The next thing we did is we went online and we went to the TSC printers. There on the TSC printers, what we did is we access the on the support page on the on products. Let me, yeah, on the service and support. There's downloads, and on the downloads we can find the we only need the drivers. So what we do is we do drivers and software, and we go to Windows drivers and we select that one. So having that done, what we do is we created we actually go to our printers and peripherals. If we go to settings, I can go to devices, and here we can add on printers and scanners, we can add a printer. So what we did is we added a printer. We added a generic printer, that's the pattern printer and software, and we added the so because we had the drivers for the TSC TDP, what we did is after we downloaded the drivers, we plugged in the pattern printer and we powered it on, and that installed the TSC TDP. The two printers, the pattern printer is a virtual printer. So when you install the pattern printer, we want to select different options here. I'm going to show you which options you do. When you do create, this is a generic printer, so we call it pattern printer. It's important to call it as you're going to use it on your directional instructions for the printout. We select not share this printer. We're going to output it through an LPT as a printer docs, and we don't have a LPT, we don't have a parallel port, but this is going to be going through the LPT. We're going to go through that um, through that bat file into a USB. So those are the basic things that you need to know. Is a generic printer called pattern printer, not share, getting out or outputting through the LPT. The other printer, the TSC TDP, that one we're going to if we look at properties, that one we install in a different way. That one we install it as is the printer is TSC TDP247. We're gonna share this printer. This is gonna be a share printer. That's so we can use so we can have access to that bat file, and we're gonna call the printer. The share name is gonna be PATPRN. 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 This is going to go not through a regular USB, but the virtual printer port. Because what we're doing is we're going a physical USB, but it's going out through a virtual. So if we have that, that tells the printer when we send, let's say for a printer test page, the printer gives us a printout, the test page for that. And it's printing right now, and it is done. So if we do pattern printer software, pattern printer, sorry, is actually a virtual printer. If we go to properties, that is the test page. It's checking for consistency and distances and things like that, the commands. So if we do the test page for the pattern printer, that is also sent as a test page. So that tells us that the two printers has been properly installed and they're ready to work. The other thing that we need to be sure is that we did create this PPBAT, remember? So if we go, we look at what it is a text. So you open a notepad and we're typing these commands that are given, and here what happening is the LPT1 has been deleted, but everything is rerouted now to the USB. So it's a short command that actually reroutes everything that comes out of the LPT. So having this software, we bring the software. The typically way to work is let's start a new one. You import a file. The XF is a typical extension that we use for the pattern printer, and we have different samples that we have included with this with the software. So you open your files. Normally you want to click smooth first. What that does is it checks the file for consistency. If everything is wrong, if the lines are not meeting, if you have layers or things like that, if it's not finalized correctly, it's going to show squares and other issues. If that's the case, you just don't continue on working on that. Just go back to your design file, design software, and correct it. If you here we go to split the return, and then the printer, the software is giving you an option that is typically not the one you choose for fabrication. Like in this letter, I'm going to choose the upper left, and that is I actually did not hit on the right corner, on the corner. I think I hit outside that. So I split it on the upper left, so is the meeting point, the tab is not going to be visible from down in a letter drop. The lollipop is telling us that the metal is on the outside of the shape. So when we click a standard return, that's what we're asking the software to consider. The metal is on the outside. If we're going to do a welded kind of a letter where the metal is behind the edge, we selected reverse return. That means the lollipop is in the inside, it should be right behind. Typically we work as a standard return. The metal is outside of the shape. Something we see here is that when I didn't accept the other option for the selection that I didn't want was actually included, I can actually go and join a return and take that point off. And that leaves it the way we want it. It's only split on one point. It's gonna go counterclockwise, and it's gonna finish here. When we're gonna output this letter, what we do is when we're gonna print it, I go to an output. I have a pattern printer installed, and I can show you some of the things that I have. One is a pattern printer is going out through a port LPT1. All the other information, leave it as it is. For setup for this, something else that is important to do is I'm selecting the tool diameter as 0.001, not because that's the size of my tool diameter, but because this particular job, the plastic has been cut not on the line as a pattern printer can understand it, but it's being cut outside the line. So I'm putting the minimum amount that I can have for the tool diameter for the so I know that the router is not taking any material from the actual size. My material thickness is 0.040, that's letter edge or regular coil, and I have this numbers that tells me how I want the piece to fit. I'm selecting tab at the end. The way I put the split, the printout is going to show the tab on the top if I do that. So I select OK, and then I'm ready to print. If I go OK, it's going to print that L. First it gives us the basic shape, the lines for the pieces, the piece and the shape. So it's actually printing detailed instructions of how this letter is going to be built. It's giving us a 1/2 inch tab going down to the first point there, the floor of the letter, the width of the stroke of the letter, the roof of that horizontal line to the crotch. Say bend down, so that means the material is actually bending contrary to the color or to the color, and then going up to the upper part, and then the roof of that stroke of the letter. So in a very simple way I did that. Something that is kind of nice to do is you can save as this job. You need to go to the LGX folder. Saving it is going to save our splits. So if we need to go back and reprint, or if we didn't finish printing our letters, they can be brought back, and we don't have to reposition those splits. Let's import another one. This one has multiple letters, so it's more in line of what how we typically bring jobs. So you import the file, you smooth. You can click on the screen and change all to black. If you change, you can actually select one portion, and you need to change color. You can actually select the whole letter, and when you print it, you can actually print just that one. Then you go to split a return, and then you split all the upper left corners. And I'm splitting also the centers. On the G, typically I wanted to put it on the top, but I don't see no knots, so there's no way for the pattern printer to know where I want to put it. So it might not drop on the right spot, but let's say I'm gonna put it right there. And it's asking me if that's the spot where I want to put it, just because is a circle, so it's not maybe right on a knot. That's the point. I do standard return. All the lollipops are outside of the shape. If I do Control Shift, I can select an individual letter, and that will be the only one that is going to be printed. So if I go output, I have all layers. If none has been selected, or if it is going to print all the letters at once. That's not something we recommend, because it's might be a reason for maybe later on the paperwork, not the pattern to get kind of stuck with it. So what we do is we do Control Shift, and then we select letter. So what we're doing there is only the hyphen is red. So when we go to an output, we have selected one. We don't have to change the selected option. Actually, we can just leave the layers, but all layers, but because we have one selected, the pattern printer software will only print the little hyphen box that is requested. It's actually doing all.